Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon. We're covering website best practice, the essentials of a great website. I'm really excited to have you here for this roughly hour. And joining me today are Liz Studham, who's our marketing content manager here at Boma. Hi Liz.
Hello everyone, nice to be here.
Great, and we've also got Patrick Frigo, who is practice app specialist at Xero Australia. So really fortunate to have you on with us. Patrick's got lots of stories and examples of his partners and other practices that he's seen doing well with their websites. So great to have you with us, Patrick.
Yeah, hi Charles. Thanks. Hi Liz. Yeah, great to be a part. Thanks for inviting me for this webinar. I'm very excited. As you know, but I'm not sure if everyone in the audience knows, Boma is probably is our favourite and preferred digital marketing app in our ecosystem. We have a lot of accounting and bookkeeping partners of Xero that are using Boma really well for their digital marketing and their communications. So I work in our ecosystem team. So I'm working daily with all sorts of apps that accountants and bookkeepers use in conjunction with Xero. And prior to that, I was actually working in the sales team, working with accountants and bookkeepers. So I've actually had my fair share of experience of looking at websites of a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, and fair to say there's probably a lot of room for improvement and missed opportunity with some of the things that I've seen. And especially at Xero, like we actually take our website very seriously. It's probably one of our biggest assets, and we invest a lot in making sure that our customers and more importantly, our potential customers get a really great experience interacting us through our webinar. So yeah, really great to be a part of this, and look forward to it.
Fantastic. So just a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. Really, we're going to give you nine sort of tips and sort of starting points for you to apply to your own website. So whether you are thinking about a website or you already have one and you're just thinking about what you can do to update it, we do lots of practical tips and advice, and also in Patrick's case, real life sort of, what he's seen, as he said, what he's seen that works and what doesn't work. So it should be a really great, roughly an hour. And if you've got any questions, do click on the Q&A box. We'll answer any questions either in the Q&A box or live if we can. So don't be afraid to ask them, put them in, and we'll answer them as we go. We'll also be recording this, so you'll get an email tomorrow which will have the full recording, and that's to go with your workbook, which we sent out a couple of hours ago. So great for you to take notes on. So let's get into it. So the first thing really on your website is the first page that anyone visiting it sees, and that's really the home page. And there's a couple of things to really think about your homepage, and the first one is that research has shown, and there was a research a couple of years ago by the Carleton University in Canada, that a first impression of a website is made within the first 0.3 of a second. So within that 0.3 of a second, all the cues and tones and sort of subconscious messages that a person will take from that website, that really stays with them. And when that same research paper looked at, did their opinion change when they had more time to look at it? It didn't really. So think of your home page, that first page is really your opportunity to make a great impression. And there's also a couple of other reasons why you need to do this. And I know a lot of accountants and bookkeepers will say, look, I get all the majority of my customers and clients through word of mouth. Well, actually, 88% of people who do get referred to accountant or bookkeeper or another small business will actually go onto their website first and look at it. So even if word of mouth is your main business sort of funnel for customers, you have to really think about your website as your digital shop window, that place where they can reach out, get a sense of you, your team, and your products and services. So it's just really key to have it there.
I think, Charlie, on that one, it's they talk about your 3-second pitch, and it sounds a bit buzzwordy sort of marketing, but it's really the essence of what you stand for, and it gives people an impression of the personality of your firm and who you are and how what it would be like to work for them, which you know, the example that you've used here, which is Alluvia Financial, has got a really lovely, I've got my photograph right in front of it, but it says, we help you discover your richness. And I know that they are all about giving people more than just the financial tools and advice. They're all about giving people that work-life balance and the ability to go home and have dinner with their family and those sorts of things. That is, you know, I love that sort of holistic thing that they do, and you get a real sense of that in their first page.
Yeah, and sorry, and you know, one thing that I've sort of seen a few times is, you know, I guess there's so many different touch points these days with how a customer or a potential customer can become a client or use a business, but invariably the website's always part of that. So whether it's word of mouth, whether it's social media, advertising, at some point they're going to access the website. And it's disappointing for me when I've seen, so Xero, we have the advisor directory, which is a source of leads for some accountants and bookkeepers, and they might invest some time in getting that advisor directory looking very nice and on brand, but then they get let down sometimes if the website doesn't match that experience. So it's just making sure you've got that consistent, you know, tone and brand, because eventually I believe that you know, as Charles said, and Liz, like, the website is going to be accessed at some point.
Yeah, it's something actually that this is webinar 2 for Boma today, and the webinar that just preceded this was our founder talking about the fact that technology has changed everything, but in actual fact it's given you a whole lot of tools. And one of those things is that you used to sort of advertise by going out to newspapers and going out to radio, and actually needed quite a bit of money to do that, to reach, to go broadcast and then reach the people you wanted to reach. And now we kind of have this ownership of various tools at our fingertips. And while you may not be doing it yourself, your website is something that you own, and it's a massive opportunity to kind of do what you want to do. You know, and along with social and all the other things that you've got now tools to actually talk directly to people. So it's sort of, I see it as actually a really nice opportunity to put your brochure out in front of people.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think if you think of, you know, how people spend their time, you know, considering and finding a business, it used to be the way, as Liz said, that they would see an ad or they would hear you on the radio. Now they're out there on Google searching, you know, they're looking for businesses like yours. And so, you know, when they land on you, and obviously your website is how it's constructed is completely part of that. And we'll touch on later in this discussion, you know, how, you know, you can use SEO and other elements to get seen online. But as Liz said, you know, and Patrick, they will come to your website pretty much guaranteed at some point. And so it really is a massive opportunity to showcase your talents. And that really takes us through into this tip, which is show them when they first land on your page, why it is that they should choose you. So, and I don't necessarily mean in terms of your products and services, because everyone talks about the products and services they offer. And so obviously, you know, you need that, and that's a great thing to have. But what Alluvia do really well is that they back it up. So they've got all their certified advisor buttons. They're a gold partner. They've won several awards, and they're bookkeeping partner of the year. So all those touch points just help give someone the assurance that you have been recognized by your industry, by your peers within the trade as experts and of value. And you can see the accreditations on the right hand piece of this part of the slide. You know, they are certified in a whole range of areas by a lot of partners, and that really, if you're looking to entrust your business or your own personal financials to someone, you want to feel that sense of certainty that they are who they say they are, and they are experts in helping you in your business. So having these sorts of cues, I think, is can't be understated, because it just instantly, again, in that sort of first couple of seconds, if they see them, that will just give them the sense that, yeah, you guys are bona fide and you're recognized. And then that sort of segues really nicely into the use of custom testimonials. So it's all well and good to have all the accreditations, but the other really powerful element you can do is case studies and testimonials, and basically where you have customers of yours singing your praises on your website. And Liz has done a lot of this, especially on social media, where think of social as a sort of another arm of your website where people can leave reviews on your social pages. Obviously, that can link through to your website. And if you do have reviews, great reviews on your social pages, think about how you can bring them onto your website. If you've got 5 stars, put them onto your website. It doesn't always have to be this example here as sort of a quote. It could just be one line with 5 stars. That's also a really nice way to visually represent, the positive experience that people have had using you.
Yeah, I think on your website, obviously you control it. And I think, if you've got happy clients, they'll be more than happy if you ask them to write, if you give them a little bit of a framework. Could you write 50 words or however many words you think it needs to be on our business and how you've found working with us? And obviously if they are, if it's B2B and if they're businesses, then it gives them brand exposure too. So that's a win-win. On Facebook, obviously you can't write that review for them. They need to go on. We have got a blog on that actually on our Boma page. So if you want to put reviews on Facebook, it's very easy to do that. I think it's down the left-hand side. You can turn reviews on and get people to review you. And we have all done this when we've gone to find a new business or a new product, looked at the stars and the ratings, and if there's 5 stars, then you obviously, it demonstrates that you're a trusted brand, and the stars are based on those reviews that you get in the positive reviews. Something here that I think is relevant to do as well, and it probably relates a little bit further on in SEO and talking about being found online, but I really recommend that you think about the directories online beyond your website where you can put your business. So it may be in the Xero marketplace. If you're not there, you should be there. You should be on business directories. You should be claiming your Google listing, and that's simply go to Google My Business, find your business. It should pop up. If it's not, make sure you put a listing in for your business. It's really easy. We also have a blog on that, so you can read all the instructions on how to do that. And Google is based on user generated content. So anyone can make a recommendation on, you might be looking at Google Maps and the business isn't where it says it is. So you can actually say not here, it's here, or the opening hours aren't right. But if you own that listing, then Google will check with you first. By owning your listing, you can add photographs, you can add business hours, you can add your actual location to help people find you if they're coming to your office, and you can get people to put reviews on there as well. So all of those things help when someone searches for an accountant or bookkeeper in their area, and the little search bot engines go out and look for something, and they see there's a number of listings for your business and a number of really positive reviews as well. That all kind of accumulates to help your ranking.
So as we continue, I'm just going to launch just in the background a couple of polls just to give us a bit of a sense of what you're doing on your website. So it'll just pop up on your screen, and feel free just to put in what your answer is. Sometimes you can choose more than one, and I'll give you the results when we end the webinar. So looking down at the next one, I think this is a really key one. So a website is obviously, it's a very visual medium. You're looking at it on your phone or on your laptop, and hopefully if it's high res, it can be super striking and appealing. And again, sort of harking back to that, the importance of making a great first impression, having it looking visually appealing and nicely designed is really critical. And there's a couple of sort of key things that I would mention here, and then obviously the one of them is look at your logo. So Alluvia Financial used to be called CloudBooks, and as they migrated more to becoming sort of business advisors, as well as sort of just doing more sort of compliance work, they actually sort of felt it was time to rebrand. And so you can see they've got Alluvia Financial, and they use both that color and the A a lot on their website. So you can see here the call to action here is in that sort of olive color, and every other sort of subheading throughout the site as well. So it's sort of a lovely sort of visual brand identity starts to get built as we go through the site. And Liz was sort of talking about pictures before, and in this case, you can see a picture of all the Olivia financial team, and what a powerful way to, show what sort of practice you are, sort of empathetic, fun, energizing, and open. And I think, your image, you'll obviously have to think about what sort of image you want to show. For Olivia Financial, this image absolutely matches with the sort of practice that they are, and I think you saw that in a couple of the testimonials beforehand. They talk about their expertise, but also about what a joy is to work with the team. So that's something to think about.
They say that images are processed something like 60,000 times faster or something than text by our brains. I was just going to add there, Charlie, that if you don't have imagery of your team, consider spending a bit of money and commissioning that, because absolutely, if you don't have images, you can use stock photography, but you do want to try and avoid the cliche stock photography that, is not going to make you look sort of stand out from others.
Maybe not handshakes. I feel like I've seen handshakes. Apologies if you have one on your website, but yeah, I totally agree.
In professional services.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add too, which I know will be covered, I know it's obvious, is you just obviously want to make sure that this all renders very beautifully on a mobile or any device that people may access, because it's obviously more and more important with the use of mobile, tablets, whatever else there is.
Exactly.
You put another poll up, Charlie?
Yeah, I just put another poll. So in the previous one, everyone who answered definitely had a website, which is great to see. And it looks like so far it's a tie between WordPress and Rocket Spark in terms of who you guys are using to build your websites. But we'll wait a couple of minutes and see if any more results come in. So on this image here, I've actually taken a screenshot of a wider view of the website. And what really stands out is they're very careful with how much text they have. So you can see up the top, they've got that sort of, first we help you discover your richness, and then lots of imagery and banners and logos. This section in the middle, they start to tell the story about being more than just sort of compliance. But again, not too many words. And then there's a little bit more in here, but they start to sort of tell the Xero story. And then lastly, they've got a video. So the key takeout here is, as we just sort of said in the previous slide, images are processed far faster than words. And if you have too many words on a page, especially if someone's just landed on your page and they're trying to get a sense of who you are and what you stand for and what you're all about, and if you sort of give them a sort of a magazine article, the messages will get lost. So think simplicity, be succinct, and just have really strong statements, sort of 3 or 4 key statements that will help them understand exactly what you're all about. Because I can guarantee if you've got too many, they'll flick to the next page and they won't remember any of it. So get them to try and remember 3 or 4 things that they can take away and that they can really understand about you and what sort of helps differentiate you. And you can see on this slide, some of them are visual, like the banners and the client logos, and others are actually text or video. So you can use a mix, but again, the main thing is don't be text heavy. That's just a critical part. Interestingly, so it looks like Rocket Spark by 67% is the favored one, which is no surprise. They're a great builder of websites for the accounting industry. So really happy that that you guys are using them. So call to action. I think, Liz, this is probably more your expertise than mine.
Pressure.
Yeah.
I'd say one thing about call to action is being really clear from the very beginning when someone comes to your website. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to read a blog, or do you want to, contact you, make an appointment, and then throughout your website, you're reminding them to take that action in terms of why they should, and making it very easy. The Olivia financial team have given the visitor to the site lots of options. So it might be that you're going to book an appointment straight away. You could look at training, or you could download an ebook. An ebook is a really nice idea, and it's not doesn't have to be technical. Could be that you've written, say, or ebook or white paper. It could be that you've written, say, a guide to tax. Now you save that and you put that on your site somewhere, but the only way to access it is not in the navigation bar, is by putting name, first name, last name, and email address in order to access that. And that's just about generating new leads and capturing the contact details of prospects. So yeah, I would say is just making it very easy and making sure that your website is doing that job for you. I don't know, you probably can add to that, Charlie.
I think
Patrick, yeah.
Say something.
Yeah, look, I was just going to say 100% agree with that, and I think something that I noticed a lot with a lot of the best SaaS websites and a lot of the apps in our ecosystem, the ones that are using websites really well for conversions and in getting new clients, is they basically take this philosophy and move everything else out of the way. So if you're going to a website, the first thing they want to do is give you a really clear, easy path for their messaging on what they would like you to do next, and eventually it's to purchase their product, but they're really clear call to actions. And then if you want to engage with anything else, and I know it's a bit different with an accounting firm, because probably most of the time current clients won't go to your website unless you have a portal or something else set up. But that they will have help, or they'll have anything that's not for a new customer, it's accessible, but that's out of the way and you have to actually look for it. And I think that's a good philosophy to have too, is just to think about, well, if I'm going on your website and I'm unfamiliar with it and I'm judging you effectively, make it as easy as possible for me to get your message and to understand what it is you actually want me to do next, or what are the options.
And the call to action can use quite compelling language. So, I know, it's a silly example, but say Netflix won't say sign up. They'll say, yes, give me 3 months free, or, whatever it is. You can be really compelling in those buttons. You don't have to necessarily just say sign up here, or you can sort of round out your offer as to what you're offering people. Or, the button might say, I'd really like help with my small business, or whatever it is that, you're offering.
Yeah, and you can see, so to start the Xero training today for only $2.99. So it's saying, let's start today. It gives the price, and the one that opened the booking, the discovery session with Joe, said, let's start today. So really positive. Maybe you've been putting it off. It's nice, positive language, and it's like, we're going to make a positive change to my business and sort of take control. So yeah, exactly. And I think the nice thing, as we alluded to, in having different calls to actions and sort of giving you different things, is that depending on where the person is, they just maybe wanting to learn a bit more about you. So in that case, as Liz said, downloading this ebook is a really nice idea. It's no pressure. They don't have to speak to you. They're not necessarily going to sort of be sold too hard. But the great thing is that, it gives them in time, they'll see the value that you can offer, and then if you do, say, send them an email the following month, or sort of have another piece of content that they engage with, it's much more likely that during that time they feel a bit of a relationship with you. They start to respect and trust your point of view. And so when you eventually do have that call, whether it's a phone call, you bump into them at an event or something, it's not cold. They won't just say, oh, who are you? I've never heard of you. They'll be like, yes, you're those people who have helped me, who give me valuable advice, and I would like to learn more. And that's really, it's a classic sales technique of warming them up, rather than just the sort of the cold call. And so think of these as your sort of warming techniques on your website, where you take them from being, don't know you at all, to having the beginnings of what hopefully will be a longer term and really fruitful relationship.
I think that's also probably is it's content marketing, and that's essentially content marketing, is you're giving rather than selling. So as you, my internet connections just had a wee note saying it's unstable, so hopefully you can hear me, that as you're giving valuable things that are of use for your audience, for prospects, for existing clients that you're helping, and building that really good long-term loyal relationship. But yeah, with prospects, the more that they see that and get exposed to that, at that point when they want to take on a trusted advisor, they've already got the beginnings of that relationship, and that's what trust is all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So skip through. So this one, and Patrick alluded to it a little bit earlier, as well as Liz, in terms of, well, I suppose it's why we do a lot of content, and obviously content is to educate and inform, and it's fantastic to have on your website, so that when people go into it, they can start to learn about things, you know, and not necessarily just straight sort of taxation or business things. They can be things to help them with leadership. They can be a really varied sort of range of topics. You know, don't think that because you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, you just have to talk about taxation and compliance. You know, you're a trusted advisor in a business sense, so talk about everything that might be of interest to, you know, as an advisor. So that could be leadership, it could be HR. Obviously, it's going to be compliance and taxation, but it's also about the health of their business, the way they structure it. You know, other than probably their lawyer and maybe their doctor, you know, there's sort of the third most trusted person, you know, there's no hierarchy, but of the sort of top three, you guys are one of the most trusted, you know, all their financials. And so, you know, go beyond just talking about the basics. You know, you have that right and that sort of position that you can really, you know, be more to them than just doing their compliance. And if you are just doing their compliance, that's absolutely fine. And you know, a lot of people just do. There's no one saying that you have to, but I'm just saying there is an opportunity. If you're thinking about going wider, don't be afraid to, because, you know, people will really enjoy, you know, listening and hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, it does come back to really being able to define who your target customer is. If you haven't already, that's really important. But that actually just reminded me, thanks Charles, because I forgot to mention that I actually use Boma myself personally. So I've got a portfolio of about 40 or 50 apps in our ecosystem that I communicate with frequently, and so I actually use Boma to communicate with them. I build my email content for them, and a lot of it is Xero related information. You know, these are some events coming up that we'd like you to be a part of, or this is happening in Xero. But I also add in articles or things that aren't Xero related specifically, but I think are relevant. So for us in the ecosystem, it's all about, you know, SaaS, software as a service business. What are, you know, a recent example was just trying to think, you know, Facebook and Spotify have had a few things, you know, some disagreements over certain things, not accounting tech related at all, but it is something that is interesting, or I think, or related to the my target audience or customers, or the people I serve. So I like to include things like that in my communications, because I think it ultimately adds value. And I think that's a parallel to what you're saying, Charles, that, you know, you can go out of maybe the specific or obvious realm that you have and add other points of value.
Yeah. That in your blog, you know, if you actually sat down for half an hour, there'd be so many things that you could talk about. I mean, obviously, many of you will be aware that, as Patrick was talking about, Boma's point of difference is a content library. So we help accountants and bookkeepers, professional advisors, business advisors market using content, and then providing the channels, so email and social. But there's lots that you are experts on that has become sort of, you know, mundane and everyday for you, but for a small business owner, or for many of your clients, is vital, and is such, you know, sometimes it's the most those blogs that you read that you sort of, those aha moments, you think, well, that totally makes sense, but I hadn't really thought of it that way. And, you know, those things are really valuable. I would say that, you know, SEO, which is search engine optimization, it's helping your site up the rankings, so that when someone searches for an advisor, that your name pops up. More pages is good for search engine optimization because it's more information for the bots to trawl. However, probably 5 or 6 is about enough, and make sure it's really easy to navigate. So a really clear and easy menu at the top. So that here we've got welcome, about, work with us, trainings, blog, freebies, and contact. I mean, that's really obvious. And also within every page heading, it's really clear what's in the body of that page. So that helps by, by making sure that you're, when people click on it, they get what they're expecting. Yeah, there was something else and I've forgotten what it was, but it was something about that. Keywords, that's right. So, keywords are things that when you do know, as Patrick says, who the people are that you really want in your business, and it might be that you're not making that up. You can say, well, who's my best client at the moment, the one that I most enjoy working with, or are we experts in one particular vertical, or is it all small business, or whatever it is. Those are when you think about it in terms of what they're looking for. So that's going to help with your blog. And then keywords obviously is the thing that you're going to end up by naturally writing, adding into that website. So, it'll be things like business advisor or accounting or Xero, or things that you think that they will be searching for. So that's not stuffing them in, but they are going to occur naturally because you are writing about that.
Yeah, that's a really nice point. And I think the last thing to say about content, people sort of talk about an optimal length being around sort of 12 to 1500 words, so sort of a 5 to 7 minute read. And if you can do that, that's obviously great. And obviously you can use the Boma content to help you do that on your website. I suppose even more important than that, though, is to always put quality over quantity. If you're talking about a subject and the natural length is 800 words, that's absolutely fantastic. You don't need to pad things out just because you're thinking, I need to get sort of to 12 or 1500 words. If it has a natural length, as long as it's quality, then people will read it, enjoy it, especially if you then start to post it. You could share it in the newsletter, you could post it on social, obviously all directed back at your website. So you start to drive that traffic back to your website, which will be great, to get people who are interested in that topic onto your website. Then they can explore different pages, look at your services, look at your team, but also great for Google, your rankings. So the more people who look at your content, they find it online and then start to visit your website, the higher up the rankings it will go. And then obviously the more, it's sort of a virtuous circle, the higher up the rankings it goes, the more often people will click on it. So if you can think about content as sort of both an information, gives information to people, but also drives people to your site, that's an easy way to sort of think about why you should be doing it.
Just one. Can I just go back on that slide? One more thing about content. It doesn't necessarily need to be blog. Something that you're ranked on is bounce rate. So the longer you can keep people on your site, the better. So it doesn't necessarily need to be written content. It could be video, and it could be
an infographic or diagrams,
or images or checklists, or something that Charlie and I were talking about earlier. There's a little calculator tool called Calculoid, and you basically embed a calculator into your website. So it could be, and look, I'm not an accountant, it could be something like, what's the cost of a new employee? And there are various variables that you add into that equation to work out what that total cost would be. It could be simple equations that prospects and clients are always wanting to kind of do in order to work out and forecast and work out things for their business, plan for their business. And so a little tool like a calculator, but there could be other things. But that's one idea for just keeping people on your site for longer and bringing them back to something that's useful.
And it was just interesting just looking at the polls before we pop onto the next slide. It looks like everyone who answered the poll manages their website internally, so sort of uploads, posts and updates, which I'm really interested by. I thought there would be more people who used external resources. So great to see that you are taking ownership. I think the more you take ownership of these things, the more you demystify. It's less scary. You get more familiar with it, and if you're doing it, whether it's yourself or a colleague is doing it, much more likely that you'll update things more regularly. And interestingly, when the second poll about when do you last sort of do a big update to your website, it looks like it's either sort of a split between super recently, so within the last 6 months, or a couple of years ago. So for those who haven't updated your website for 2 to 3 years, you know, think, you know, is it still delivering what you need? And especially as we move on to the next slide and we start to talk about being mobile friendly and being mobile responsive. And the image here, I think, really displays what we mean by being mobile friendly. So it's not that you have the same website, you know, it looks exactly the same on a mobile as it does on your desktop. It basically means that it's built so that when you change resolution screen size, it all fits naturally into the screen size available. So you can see here, the iPad image is very different looking to the wider screen desktop. So most website builders now will have that sort of built in, but just always worth checking. And the reason is twofold. Firstly, we talked earlier about making it visually appealing, and if you have a website that's not built for mobile and then you look at it on your mobile device, and these days, you know, more than 60% of people do search the web, and you know, when they're going through their consideration process, or they see something that you did, they're most likely to look at it on a mobile device, and they see a non-mobile responsive website. Immediately, first impression is they're not professional, they don't know what they're doing, you know, it's not working. And it doesn't matter how professional you actually are doing what you're doing, if the website, again, to that visual impression, if it's not mobile friendly and mobile responsive, it'll be very hard to overcome that sort of initial impression that it's not quite right. And the second sort of equally important reason is that Google...
something, you know, along the same lines, if you are linking... Oh, sorry, Charlie, you go.
I was just going to say that, you know, Google has put a massive emphasis on being mobile responsive, and the reason they do is that they want their users to have a great experience on Google, and for that experience to continue when they click on a search link on, you know, on a Google sort of page. So, you know, for them, if they see two websites and every other factor is the same, they're both really visually appealing, they have lots of good content, all those other things, and one is mobile responsive and the other isn't, then they will always rank the one that's mobile responsive higher. So that just means higher on the page. And we all know that there's a joke in sort of digital marketing that the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page or the third page of Google search. You know, it's sort of 80% of all the clicks are always on the first page. So, you know, do everything that you can to get onto that first page. You know, so we're talking about SEO, we're talking about being mobile responsive, just everything that you can do, you should be doing it, because it will pay dividends for you. Oh, and this one here is just really a continuation of this sort of responsiveness, and that's really make sure that whatever platform you're using is mobile, is robust. And the feedback from the poll is that it's WordPress and Rocket Spark, which is fantastic, because both of those are super robust. You know, the technology is up to date. They keep everything, you know, whenever Google releases sort of new criteria for their search engine marketing or anything like that, they always make sure that they continually update it. So you know, you can all rest assured that those of you who are on those platforms, you know, it is robust. The other thing to think about is how fast your page loads. So if you have a website and it's hosted in not locally, but it's hosted, say, in some faraway country, for every sort of 1,000 kilometers, it actually does take a fraction of a second longer to load. So if your website wasn't hosted locally, say in Australia, New Zealand, but it was hosted in the US or the UK, it would take a little bit longer. And studies have proven that for every sort of extra second it takes for your page to load, people will just quit in droves. So, you know, if a site takes 1 to 2 seconds, you'll get 90% of the people. If it takes 3 to 4 seconds, suddenly you've lost 50, 60% of the people before they've even seen what you have to offer. So then all that good work you've done on the content, on the call to action, on the making it visually appealing has been lost. You've already lost 50%. So making sure that, you know, your page loads fast is really important. And if you want to check how fast it does load, there's a great free service called Pingdom, Pingdom, and you can just put your URL into their speed test and it will tell you exactly how fast it's loading. I'll give you a little score as well as to, you know, whether that's good or could do with a bit of improvement.
There are a number of little things also that, you know, no matter what the platform that you build on, if you're doing things like linking to other people's content, which is always great, because, you know, if people are referring to you or you're referring to them, that's a good way to boost your SEO. But make sure keep a check on those links and they're not broken, because if you're getting that screen come up saying 404 error report, then people are going to get frustrated. We've got a very, I guess, you know, as users, as internet users, we've got quite high expectations. So, but the good news is that it's not that hard to do a great job. Just needs a little bit of time and commitment to doing that for your website.
And Patrick, is there anything that you would add?
Look, all I'd add is that, yeah, I definitely agree. From my own personal experience, I don't know if it's a sad indictment on our current generation, but we're very impatient, and it absolutely will cost dollars if it's not quick, but not stable as well and unreliable. It's, yeah, I think that's very, 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 very important.
Right, and the poll we've just launched as well is really, it's more about any future webinars or blogs. So it's basically, you know, are there any other topics that you'd like us to do a webinar or a blog post on? Feel free to sort of pick multiples. I can see there's a couple on lead generation. Some people have named LinkedIn and Facebook as well, which are all great ones. If there's anything that's not on there, when we send you a follow-up email tomorrow with a recording, feel free to just reply to that, and we'll take that on board and make sure we have that in the coming weeks and months. The email that comes out will also mention the special Xero Starter Partner offer. So that'll have more details on that, but that's basically a fantastic offer in conjunction with Xero, which gives new users to Boma their first month for free. Well, 99% off, so almost free. So brilliant. It looks like LinkedIn is definitely by far and away the most popular, but definitely promotion and hosting events, a bit more in SEO, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, pretty much everything has come up. The only one that no one, or the only two that no one has shown much of an interest in has been email marketing and advertising on social media, which is really interesting. So we'll definitely take your feedback on board and make sure that we do some future webinars that address some of those. Specifically, we'll do probably one on Facebook, so we can really deep dive into absolutely everything on that topic, and the same for the other ones. So that's it from us. Just leaves me to thank Liz and Patrick. Thanks so much for giving up your time, and also thank you to everyone who attended. Thanks for your time. I hope it was useful. We'll send out the recording tomorrow. And if you've got any other questions, just hit reply to that email, and we'll do our best to help you through.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone
for joining.
Cheers, Charles. Cheers, Liz.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.